Most people live their entire lives in financial struggle, never realizing that wealth is not a matter of luck, inheritance, or opportunity. It begins in the mind. The bank account is simply a reflection of your daily choices, your discipline, and the clarity with which you think about money. Poverty is created by neglect, by failing to plan, by allowing impulses and distractions to govern your actions. True wealth is cultivated quietly, in small, consistent steps, saving, investing, learning, and growing your capacity to earn. Think wealth daily, act deliberately, and watch what once seemed impossible become inevitable. So today, we will learn how to escape the trap of financial struggle and how to build lasting wealth through discipline, habits, and investing in yourself. Let's begin. Let me take you on a journey that begins with a simple truth. The way we handle small amounts of money today determines the way we manage great sums tomorrow. Most people overlook the power of the first $100 they earn, the first $100 they save, the first $100 they invest. Yet, if you cannot respect this small sum, you cannot command 10, 100, or 1,000 times more. I learned this lesson early in my life, back when I was scraping by, counting every dime, wondering how I would ever escape the weight of financial struggle. Every dollar I held in my hand was a teacher, every coin a mentor, whispering, "Respect me, and I will grow." The strategy is simple but profound. Treat each small dollar with the same care, discipline, and reverence that you would 100,000. Do not spend it carelessly. Do not let it slip through your fingers because of impulse or distraction. Track it, write it down, see exactly where it goes. The first $100 you earn, the first you save, is not just money, it is a reflection of your character, your attention, your self-discipline. In my early years, I kept a small notebook and recorded every single dollar. I wrote down when I earned it, when I spent it, what I spent it on, and why. And in doing so, I discovered something powerful. Mastery over small amounts builds the habit of mastery over large amounts. Practical application matters as much as philosophy. Start today by taking that first $100 and monitoring it with meticulous care. When you deposit a dollar into your savings, note it. When you invest a few coins into a side project or a small stock, note it. Watch it grow, not just in number, but in the confidence and clarity it brings. Soon, managing larger sums becomes natural because your mind has already been trained, your habits already formed, and your respect for money already embedded. Remember, wealth is not created by large deposits alone. It is the accumulation of disciplined actions, the respect for small things, and the daily practice of control and foresight. Mastering small amounts is not just a financial lesson, it is a life lesson. Every fortune, every empire, every achievement begins with respect for what is in your hands today. So take control of your small amounts now, and the larger sums will follow with ease. The first step to wealth begins with respect for the smallest of dollars. Let me share something that most people overlook when it comes to building real wealth. Money without a system is like a river without banks. It flows aimlessly, evaporates, or floods where it shouldn't. I've seen it countless times. People earn well, work tirelessly, yet their money disappears almost as quickly as it comes. The reason is simple. Chaos destroys, but order multiplies. When your finances are unorganized, you are constantly reacting, never directing. You are like a ship at sea with no rudder. On the other hand, when you implement systems, structured, consistent, automatic, your money works for you instead of you constantly working for it. Early in my life, when I began to understand money, I realized that discipline alone wasn't enough. Discipline without structure is fragile. A system creates the structure that turns discipline into exponential results. The strategy is clear. Automate your wealth-building habits. Don't rely on memory, motivation, or luck. Automate savings, automate investments, automate giving, automate what's necessary for survival. Once these systems are in place, your money starts to multiply quietly, steadily, and predictably. I remember the first time I divided my income into separate categories, one for living, one for saving, one for investing, and one for giving. I treated each dollar as a soldier with an assignment. The living account paid for necessities without guilt. The saving account protected me from emergencies. The investing account planted seeds for the future, and the giving account reminded me of the joy of contribution. By creating a system, I didn't have to think twice. The money moved as it should, and slowly, silently, wealth began to grow. The practical step is simple but transformative. Set up 4 accounts: living, saving, investing, and giving. Assign every dollar of your income to one of these purposes immediately. Make it automatic, make it habitual. Over time, you will see the power of order, small, disciplined flows of money turning into unstoppable streams of wealth. Chaos cannot produce this. Order, when applied consistently, compounds quietly and decisively. Wealth does not come to the disorganized. It comes to those who build systems and let them work silently, steadily, and powerfully. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Most people never escape financial struggle because they confuse wants with needs. It's easy to get swept up in the moment, to believe that immediate gratification equals happiness. Yet every dollar spent on something unnecessary is a dollar taken from your future. Discipline, true discipline, is choosing long-term gain over short-term pleasure. It's a choice you make repeatedly, quietly, often when no one is watching. I remember early in my career, standing in a store, tempted by the latest gadget or a suit that was far beyond my means. My impulse screamed, "Buy it! You deserve it!" But I stopped and asked myself, do I need this, or do I simply want it? That simple question changed the trajectory of my financial life. It's not about denying yourself life's pleasures. It's about putting first things first. Wants will always whisper, but needs, aligned with purpose and survival, must take priority. The strategy is simple but powerful. Before every purchase, evaluate its necessity. Ask yourself, does this move me toward my financial goals, or does it pull me backward? If the item isn't essential, hold your judgment. Give yourself a cooling off period, a pause to reflect. I once implemented a rule: wait 72 hours before buying anything non-essential. Often, in those 3 days, I realized the desire had faded and I had preserved my wealth instead of squandering it. Sometimes, waiting also allows clarity. Is this truly something of value or just a fleeting emotion? Over time, this habit trains your mind to distinguish what is truly necessary from what is merely attractive or convenient. The practical step is simple. For every non-essential purchase, wait 72 hours. Let the impulse pass, and let your long-term vision guide your choices. Discipline is not denial. It is the conscious act of prioritizing your future over immediate indulgence. Wealth grows quietly when you separate wants from needs and allow long-term thinking to govern your daily choices. When it comes to building wealth, the first truth you must embrace is that knowledge compounds far faster than money ever can. I've seen it countless times in my own life and in the lives of those I've mentored. Money will come and go if you treat it carelessly, but knowledge, once earned and applied, becomes a powerful seed that grows exponentially. The man or woman who stops learning stops earning in the long term. Think about it. What separates the wealthy from the struggling is rarely opportunity. It is the ability to see, understand, and act on opportunity before others do. That ability comes from a commitment to continuous learning. It is not a luxury, it is a necessity. I remember my own early days, working odd jobs, barely making ends meet, and feeling like the odds were stacked against me. But I discovered a simple principle. Invest in yourself first. I began setting aside a portion of each day, sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour, to read books, listen to recordings, or learn from mentors. At first it seemed trivial. Who had time to read when the bills were piling up? Yet, day after day, I built a mental bank account of ideas, strategies, and insights that no one could ever take away. That knowledge allowed me to make smarter decisions with my money, my career, and my relationships. Continuous learning also builds confidence, and confidence is the currency of action. When you learn, you stop being reactive to the world. You begin to create your world instead. I once advised a young man who felt stuck in his job. I told him to dedicate 30 minutes a day to learning something new about his field or financial management. Within a few months, he had new ideas, he was more productive, and opportunities began to appear that he could have never seen without expanding his mind. That's the power of compounding knowledge. It doesn't just grow quietly in your head, it translates into income, influence, and freedom. The strategy is simple. Never stop upgrading your skills and financial literacy. Treat it as sacred time, as non-negotiable. Automate it if you must. Schedule it daily, just like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. And make it meaningful. Read books that stretch your thinking. Attend webinars that challenge your perspective. Or seek out mentors who have walked the path before you. The small, consistent effort may seem invisible at first, but like planting seeds in fertile soil, the harvest will come. So today, ask yourself, am I growing or am I standing still? Am I allowing my mind to compound in value faster than the money in my pocket? Commit to continuous learning and the results will follow. Because knowledge, unlike cash, never depletes, it multiplies. One of the most powerful truths I've discovered in life is that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about that for a moment. Your income, your mindset, your habits, they are influenced far more by the company you keep than by sheer luck. If you surround yourself with people who complain, procrastinate, and settle for mediocrity, you will unconsciously adopt their patterns, and your results will reflect that. Conversely, if you spend time with people who are disciplined, ambitious, and forward-thinking, you will naturally elevate your own standards, your decisions, and your potential for wealth. I remember when I was just starting out, struggling to make sense of business and life. I had ambition, yes, but I also had mistakes and missteps. It was only when I began seeking mentors, people who had walked the path before me, that my trajectory changed. I attended seminars, read their books, and most importantly, I reached out and asked for guidance. One meeting, one conversation, one insight from someone who had been where I wanted to go often saved me months, sometimes years, of trial and error. That's the leverage of mentorship. You learn from someone else's experience rather than reinventing the wheel. The philosophy is simple. You cannot grow in isolation. You grow by association. Learn from those who've already achieved what you want, not in theory, but in practice. Seek out mentors who embody the values, habits, and mindset you aspire to cultivate. Listen more than you speak. Observe the details of their discipline, their decision-making, and their approach to challenges. Absorb their wisdom as a student absorbs lessons from a master. The practical step is just as important as the philosophy. Commit to meeting a mentor monthly, even if it's just for 30 minutes. Join a mastermind group where ambitious individuals exchange ideas, hold each other accountable, and inspire growth. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, who push you beyond comfort, and who provide perspective you could not gain on your own. This is not about networking superficially. It is about strategic influence, placing yourself in an environment where your potential cannot help but expand. I've witnessed countless people transform their lives simply because they invested in mentorship. They stopped spinning their wheels in isolation and began moving forward on a clear, guided path. The return on this investment is exponential. Not only do you gain knowledge, but you also gain confidence, clarity, and the courage to take bold steps. So I ask you today, who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Are they lifting you toward wealth, wisdom, and success, or are they keeping you average? Seek out mentors, learn from their journey, and surround yourself with those whose presence inspires your best self. The company you keep will determine the life you build. Discipline is the foundation upon which all wealth is built. Many people chase wealth with bursts of energy, getting excited for a week or a month, only to fizzle out when motivation fades. But the truth is, consistency beats intensity every single time. One of the biggest lessons I learned early in my life was that small, disciplined actions, repeated daily, compound into extraordinary results. Wealth is not created by the occasional big decision. It is built quietly, day by day, habit by habit. I learned this the hard way. In my early days, I would get inspired to save or invest when I heard a seminar or read a book. But without a system, without routine, those sparks of enthusiasm burned out, leaving me right where I started. It was only when I committed to disciplined, regular actions that I began to see my life change. The philosophy is clear. Wealth grows from repeated, responsible decisions, not from sporadic bursts of effort. Your bank account, your investments, your financial confidence, they respond not to one-time heroics, but to a steady, dependable practice. Think of it like planting seeds. One seed dropped randomly may or may not grow, but if you plant, water, and care for a seed consistently, it grows into a strong tree. Discipline is the water that nourishes your financial tree. The strategy then is to embed discipline into your daily life. Create financial habits that are automatic and unshakable. Decide that a portion of your income will be saved or invested every week, no matter how small it seems. Track it, honor it, and treat it as sacred. It is not about the size of your savings, but the consistency of your actions. Over time, even modest weekly investments grow exponentially. I have seen countless ordinary people turn their lives around simply because they refuse to miss their weekly commitment to themselves, their future, and their goals. The practical step is simple yet profound. Set aside a fixed amount every week for savings or investments. It doesn't matter if it's $10, $50, or $100. What matters is that you do it every week without fail. Watch as the habit compounds, as discipline becomes a lifestyle, and as your financial confidence grows. The same principle applies to learning, networking, and building skills. Consistency turns ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. Discipline is not glamorous, but it is powerful. It quietly strengthens character, builds resilience, and ensures that wealth accumulates steadily over time. If you commit to discipline, week after week, year after year, you will discover that wealth is not a matter of luck, but of deliberate, unwavering practice. Begin today. Choose consistency over intensity, and let discipline shape the life you want. When it comes to building wealth, the distinction between assets and liabilities is more than just accounting. It is a mindset, a way of thinking that separates the wealthy from those who remain financially stuck. Assets generate income, They put money in your pocket, and they grow your capacity to earn and secure freedom. Liabilities, on the other hand, drain your resources. They take money out, demand attention, and often disguise themselves as necessities or even status symbols. I have seen it countless times. People buy flashy cars, luxury gadgets, or big houses, thinking they are moving forward, when in reality, they are sinking deeper into debt and stress. The philosophy is simple but profound. Wealth is created by acquiring things that work for you, not against you. The strategy then is to focus every purchase through the lens of value creation. Ask yourself, will this bring me income, security, or opportunity, or will it simply drain my resources? Learn to delay gratification, to hold back from instant pleasure in favor of long-term growth. In my early days, when I first started earning, I struggled with this. I wanted the shiny shoes, the expensive suit, the immediate symbol of success. But a mentor once asked me, "Jim, does this buy freedom or just impress someone else?" That question changed my thinking. I began to shift my focus toward buying assets, stocks that paid dividends, small rental properties, tools that allowed me to earn more. Each asset became a worker, a silent partner, a machine that earned even when I slept. The practical step is a daily, deliberate practice. Before any purchase, pause and ask yourself, will this put money in my pocket or take it out? Track your spending and classify it. Am I acquiring an asset or a liability? Even small choices matter. That coffee you buy daily, the subscription you don't need, the impulse gadgets, all liabilities. But each investment in skills, tools, property, or financial instruments is an asset, a step toward freedom. I remember keeping a notebook early in my career, writing down every dollar spent, asking the same question over and over. It was tedious, but it trained my mind to see opportunities, not distractions, and over time, it reshaped my financial trajectory. Investing in assets is not about wealth flaunting. It's about security, independence, and the ability to choose your life. When your money works for you, you are no longer a slave to income, bills, or obligations. Wealth is not measured by what you own, but by what you own that earns for you, that grows, that compounds. Choose assets over liabilities, and your life will quietly, steadily transform. One of the most overlooked habits in building lasting wealth is the simple act of tracking what you own and what you owe. You cannot improve what you do not measure, and money is no exception. Many people drift through life, checking their bank balance only when bills arrive or when paychecks are deposited, without truly understanding the trajectory of their finances. Wealth is not just about how much you earn, but about knowing exactly where you stand at every moment. It's about clarity. Without a clear picture, you are navigating in the dark, guessing your position and hoping for progress. I learned early in my career that those who fail to track their financial position often spend blindly, save sporadically, and invest haphazardly. But those who measure, those who see the numbers, create momentum, because knowledge empowers action. The strategy is to monitor your financial position consistently. This is not a once-a-year exercise. It's a monthly ritual, a reflection of your choices and their consequences. Begin with a net worth statement. List all your assets, cash, investments, property, retirement accounts, and anything that produces value, and subtract all your liabilities, loans, credit card debt, and other obligations. This simple calculation shows your real progress, your true financial health. Over time, you will start to notice patterns, areas of waste, and opportunities to grow. I remember in my early years, I kept a small ledger and updated it every month. At first, it was sobering to see the liabilities outweighing the assets. But it became a mirror, and with each month, I could track how every saving, investment, and financial decision impacted my net worth. It was a compass guiding me toward freedom. The practical step is to make this a ritual. Update your net worth statement every month, without excuses, without delay. Review it critically. Ask yourself, am I moving forward or sideways? Am I creating assets or accumulating liabilities? Use this knowledge to adjust your spending, your savings, and your investment strategy. When you track consistently, even small gains compound, and you begin to understand the principle of leverage. Your money is working for you. Your choices are intentional. And you are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. Measuring your net worth is not just about money. It is about accountability, awareness, and control. When you know exactly where you stand, you can make better decisions, seize opportunities, and avoid pitfalls. Wealth grows quietly, but it grows faster when it is watched, guided, and nurtured with intention. Track your net worth, and you will never be a stranger to your own progress. One of the most critical principles of wealth building is understanding that your capital is sacred. Money, once lost, is difficult to replace, and one careless mistake can erase years of hard work and discipline. I've learned that wealth isn't built by reckless risk-taking or chasing every opportunity that appears on the horizon. It's built by protection, prudence, and knowing the boundaries of what you understand. Many people see investing as a game, a chance to strike it rich overnight, and they overlook the fundamental truth. Preserving your capital is far more important than chasing high returns without knowledge. When I started, I had little money, but I knew I could either risk it foolishly and lose everything, or guard it wisely and watch it grow steadily. That choice has made all the difference. The strategy is simple. Never put money into something you do not fully understand. If the investment is complex, unfamiliar, or relies on someone else's assurances alone, walk away until you have learned enough to evaluate it yourself. Knowledge is your best shield, and discipline is your guardrail. I remember when I was first offered a can't-miss opportunity to invest in a business that seemed promising. I didn't understand its financials or market potential, but the pitch sounded exciting. Instead of rushing, I wrote out the risk and reward, studied the industry, and only after careful evaluation did I decide to pass. That one decision saved me from losing what little I had and kept me on the path toward steady growth. Wealth grows quietly, not recklessly, and protection always comes before expansion. The practical step is to formalize this habit. Before you invest a single dollar, write down a plan. What is the risk? What is the reward? And what is your exit strategy? This forces clarity and discipline. When you see the numbers and potential outcomes on paper, you eliminate emotional impulses, guesswork, and the trap of overconfidence. Every successful investor, entrepreneur, or wealth builder I've known treats this process as sacred. They don't gamble, they measure, they prepare, and they protect. Protecting your capital isn't just about avoiding loss. It's about creating the foundation for growth. Every dollar you safeguard becomes a tool to multiply wealth, an opportunity to compound knowledge, experience, and assets. Discipline, patience, and preparation ensure that your money works for you and never against you. Guard your capital, and you will have the freedom to grow without fear, because every wise decision compounds into the wealth and security you seek. One of the most overlooked principles of true wealth is that accumulation alone does not create fulfillment or lasting success. You can amass riches, own properties, and watch your bank account grow, but if your life has not contributed to the lives of others, something essential is missing. Wealth, at its core, is not just a measure of money. It is a measure of impact, influence, and the value you bring into the world. I have learned, through experience and observation, that those who focus solely on accumulation eventually find themselves empty, while those who commit to contribution experience a compounding effect not only in wealth but in personal satisfaction, relationships, and opportunities. There's a principle here that is simple yet powerful. Giving multiplies receiving. When you provide value, you create a ripple that always returns to you in ways that money alone cannot achieve. The strategy is straightforward but profound. Actively share your knowledge, resources, and encouragement with others. Mentorship, guidance, and even small acts of support have enormous long-term effects. I remember early in my career, when I had barely enough for myself, I chose to invest a small portion of my time in coaching a young man who was struggling financially. I didn't know how it would return to me, but I wanted to contribute. Within a few years, not only had he transformed his life, but our relationship opened doors and connections that accelerated my own growth. Contribution is not just charity, it is a principle of exponential return. When you help others rise, you create networks, loyalty, and shared growth that no amount of hoarded wealth can produce. The practical step is simple and actionable. Commit a fixed percentage of your income, 5 to 10%, to contribution or mentorship. It doesn't matter if you start small. What matters is the consistency and the mindset. Allocate a portion of your earnings to support causes, invest in people, or share your time to teach and empower. This habit reinforces the value of wealth as a tool rather than a trophy, and it cultivates gratitude, perspective, and purpose. By valuing contribution as much as accumulation, you cultivate a life where wealth flows freely, opportunity multiplies, and personal fulfillment expands alongside financial gain. Contribution creates a cycle where giving becomes the engine of growth, both for you and for those around you. In the world of wealth, the true measure of success is not only what you hold, but also what you give. Give generously, and your wealth will follow naturally. One of the most powerful truths about wealth and success is that failure is not the enemy. It is a teacher. Too many people see setbacks as disasters, as proof that they are not capable, or as signals to give up entirely. But in reality, every mistake, every loss, every misstep carries within it the seeds of wisdom. When I look back at my own journey, I remember countless moments when I felt completely defeated, decisions that went wrong, investments that lost value, opportunities that slipped through my fingers. At the time, these experiences felt like punishment, as though life itself was against me. Yet when I paused and reflected, I realized each failure was actually tuition I had to pay to gain knowledge I could not acquire any other way. The philosophy here is simple but profound. Setbacks are lessons, not disasters. Wealth is not built by avoiding mistakes. It is built by learning from them, adjusting, and moving forward with new understanding. Every miscalculation, every risk that didn't pay off is a chance to gain insight into decision-making, discipline, and foresight. The strategy is to treat losses as tuition for wisdom. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, you analyze it. What assumptions were incorrect? What could have been done differently? How can this lesson be applied in the future? The sooner you adopt this mindset, the faster you grow, because experience alone is a teacher that cannot be substituted. Here's the practical step that will transform this philosophy into habit. After every financial mistake, write down the lesson learned, document it, make it tangible. I recall a time early in my career when I invested in a small venture that seemed promising, only to see it fail completely. My initial reaction was anger, disappointment, and a sense of wasted effort. But that evening, I wrote down the entire experience, the misjudgments, the assumptions I had made, the external factors I hadn't considered. That document became a roadmap for every future investment, guiding my decisions and preventing me from repeating the same errors. Over time, the accumulation of lessons from failures proved far more valuable than any textbook or seminar could provide. When you embrace failure as tuition, fear diminishes, risk becomes calculated, and confidence grows. Your mistakes stop being burdens and start being building blocks. Wealth, both financial and personal, is less about avoiding loss and more about extracting lessons faster than anyone else. The person who prospers is not the one who never fails, but the one who learns from failure, adapts, and keeps moving forward. Learn from your mistakes, document the lesson, and let every setback propel you closer to your wealth and your purpose. Time is the one resource we all share equally, yet it is far more precious than money. You can earn more money, but you cannot earn more hours in a day. And that is exactly why controlling your time is the ultimate form of wealth. Too many people drift through life as though time is unlimited. They respond to every message, attend every meeting, and get swept up in every distraction. I've seen it countless times in my own journey and in the lives of people I've mentored. Energy spent on unimportant tasks is energy stolen from opportunity. Time, when respected and managed properly, becomes a multiplier. It turns effort into accomplishment, knowledge into growth, and potential into prosperity. The philosophy here is clear. Time is the true currency of wealth. Money can be replaced, opportunities can return, but lost time never comes back. The strategy is to prioritize high-value activities over distractions. It is not enough to be busy. Busyness is often the enemy of wealth. We must focus on activities that move us closer to our goals, build skills, and generate income. For me, that meant early in my career, I had to stop reacting to every interruption and start planning my day deliberately. I would identify the tasks that directly impacted my growth, my learning, and my ability to generate value. Everything else, social media, idle chatter, and reactive obligations, was either scheduled intentionally or eliminated entirely. The clarity of purpose in time management transforms chaos into order. The practical step is simple but powerful. Schedule your day in blocks for work, learning, and growth. I still do this today, and I teach it to everyone I mentor. The morning hours are sacred for thinking, planning, and self-improvement. Afternoons are reserved for execution, meetings, and responsibilities that require attention. Evenings are often blocked for reflection, reading, and planning for the next day. By creating structured time blocks, you ensure that your highest value activities are completed consistently and distractions do not erode your progress. A friend of mine, a young entrepreneur, once admitted that he was constantly exhausted but never seemed to advance financially. I showed him how to schedule his day in focused blocks. Within weeks, he had doubled his productivity, gained clarity on his priorities, and started seeing measurable results in his income. When you control your time, you control your life. Time, once mastered, amplifies everything else discipline, skill, relationships, and wealth. The richest people in the world understand that wealth is not just about money. It is about freedom to choose how your time is spent. Respect your time, guard it fiercely, and dedicate it to what truly matters. Master your time, and you master your life. One of the most powerful principles in building wealth is compounding, yet so few people truly understand it. Compounding is the process by which money grows exponentially over time, not linearly, not in a straight line, but in a geometric progression. It's the secret that separates the wealthy from the struggling, the disciplined from the reactive. You see, wealth is not created overnight, and it is not created by luck. It is created by small, consistent actions, repeated over years, allowing time to work in your favor. The philosophy is simple. Wealth multiplies exponentially over time, and the earlier you start, the greater the results. I learned this lesson early in my life when I began saving and investing even tiny amounts, while others around me spent every dime they earned. The difference in outcome, decades later, was astonishing. The principle is not just about money, it applies to knowledge, skills, and relationships as well. The strategy is equally straightforward. Start early and let your investments grow. The power of compounding does not work if you delay or if you spend your returns before they have a chance to generate more wealth. This is why most people struggle financially. They take their profits and indulge immediately, instead of planting seeds that will bear fruit over time. When I began applying this principle, I disciplined myself to automatically reinvest the earnings from my investments, whether it was a small dividend, interest, or a profit from a side venture. Each reinvestment was a seed planted for future growth, and over years, those seeds grew into mighty oaks. I've seen countless students apply this principle in their businesses and investments, and the results always astonish them. Even modest amounts, when compounded over decades, create freedom, security, and opportunity. The practical step is clear. Automate your investments and reinvest earnings consistently. Set up systems so that a portion of your income goes directly into assets, stocks, bonds, index funds, or even business ventures, without waiting for inspiration or perfect timing. Reinvest every return, no matter how small, and resist the urge to spend prematurely. The discipline to start early, to remain consistent, and to let time work as your ally is the foundation of financial independence. I often remind people that time is the friend of the disciplined and the enemy of the impatient. By leveraging compounding, you allow money to do the work for you while you focus on learning, growing, and creating more value. Start early, stay consistent, and trust the process. Because compounding is the quiet force that builds empires. Wealth is never an accident, and it is never separate from who you are as a person. One of the greatest truths I have learned in my life is that financial success is a direct reflection of personal development. If you are not growing, your income will not grow either. Your habits, mindset, and skills are the real currency of wealth. Money is merely a tool, but personal growth is the engine that drives it. I remember my early years when I had very little in my pockets, but a lot in my mind. I invested every spare moment in learning, listening, and applying new principles. I read books, attended seminars, and surrounded myself with people who were living the life I aspired to have. Over time, I realized that the wealth I accumulated was less about chance and more about the consistent growth I committed to every day. The philosophy is simple yet profound. Wealth is a reflection of personal development. The more you grow, the more capable you become of creating and attracting financial opportunities. The strategy is equally simple but requires discipline. Invest in yourself daily. This is not about sporadic inspiration or occasional effort. It is about making personal development a non-negotiable part of your routine. I have found that dedicating time each day to improve your mindset, develop new skills, or enhance your business understanding compounds faster than any investment in the market. The small, daily improvements accumulate into massive transformation over years. I have seen students and clients completely change their financial trajectories simply by committing to growth for an hour each day. 1 hour may seem insignificant, but over a year, that is hundreds of hours of focused, purposeful learning that positions you far ahead of your peers. The practical step is clear. Allocate at least 1 hour each day to self-improvement or mastery of your business. Read books, attend seminars, watch educational videos, engage with mentors, or work on skills that directly impact your ability to earn and create. Treat this hour as sacred, non-negotiable, and irreplaceable. I have often told people, if you want to change your financial life, you must first change yourself. The results are not always immediate, but they are inevitable. By committing to personal growth daily, you align your mind, your habits, and your actions with the success you desire. You become more valuable, more capable, and more prepared for the opportunities life places in your path. Personal growth is the soil, wealth is the harvest. Cultivate yourself every day, and the financial abundance will follow naturally. As we come to the close of our time together, I want you to take a moment and really think about what has been shared. Wealth is not about luck, and it is not about a sudden windfall or a brilliant idea that happens overnight. Wealth is the natural result of consistent, daily choices that align with discipline, personal growth, and intentional action. It is built quietly, often in silence, through habits that may seem small, almost invisible, yet powerful beyond measure. The truth is, the same principles that created poverty in someone's life can create riches in yours if you apply them faithfully and consistently. The moment you decide to take responsibility for your financial life, the moment you commit to learning, saving, investing, and growing as a person, that is the moment you start moving from struggle to abundance. But knowledge alone is not enough. Action is required. You cannot merely hear these words and expect your life to change. You must do something with them. Begin today. Write down the small steps you will take to master your money, control your time, invest in yourself, and surround yourself with people who elevate your thinking. Track your habits. Track your progress and hold yourself accountable. The habits you develop now are the roots that will support your financial tree for decades to come. Remember, wealth is not something that can be taken from you. It is something you grow inside yourself. Your decisions, your discipline, and your commitment are the true assets that nobody can ever steal.